Hey everyone, it's Rami over here. I hope you're all doing well. I'm traveling all the time. I love to travel. It's something I really enjoy doing. It's something I've been doing for a very long time, and I feel like it's something that enriches the person. And travel gives you something called perspective. And the thing is, not everyone can grasp perspective because even people that have traveled could still come back and take nothing from their journey. I've had the opportunity to travel solo, to travel with a girlfriend or a past partner, and I've also had the opportunity to travel with family. So I basically experienced all of these different realms of travel. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are very concerned, very cautious about traveling alone. I was one of these guys myself. My first solo adventure was in 2013, so it wasn't that long ago. And my first solo trip was to Hong Kong. Traveling alone was challenging. And it was challenging because, well, A, it was my first time. But even outside looking in, I was able to kind of distinguish what I could have done better when I kind of traveled on my own. Things I could have done better, things I could have improved on, and how I could have taken more from that experience. Now, in saying that, I really enjoyed my experience in Hong Kong. It was a very wonderful time. What are the pros of traveling on your own? Now, the first pro to me, and this is such an important pro, is the fact that your itinerary is something that is entirely yours. You know what? You can wake up when you want to wake up. You can have breakfast whenever you want to have breakfast. Heck, you don't even have to have breakfast. You don't have to rush and do that tour that your friend wanted to do. The freedom is absolutely fantastic. And I really took advantage of that freedom. I just left my hotel and ensured that I was doing things every day. And I met a girl while I was there, and she really added to that experience. But that's a whole other video. But in saying that, the freedom of traveling solo is unmatched. You will never have that experience in any other mode of travel. Traveling solo is definitely the most expressive form of travel because it truly allows you to travel in a style that suits you and do whatever you want to do. There is no pressure, and that is something that I really dislike when traveling with other people. The pressure to do what they want to do, the disagreement, the mix-up of itineraries and ideas. Things as simple as what to eat could become such a huge problem when you're traveling with other people. Now, another good thing about traveling solo is the opportunity to meet other people. So the thing is, when it comes to traveling solo, there is no strings attached when it comes to you having to engage with other people. When I was in Hong Kong, I noticed that so many other people were traveling solo. I remember when I went up to the peak, the cable car ride that overlooks the whole city of Hong Kong, and I was trying to get photos of myself with the view, and I kind of looked around me and I saw so many other people doing the same thing that I was. They were on their own, they're trying to get that epic photo, but they can't. And that's when I would approach them, or they would approach me and say, would you like your photo taken? And that's where you start the small talk. Where you're from? How's your trip? These are great ways to meet new people, and it really makes you aware of how many other people are in your shoes, and that when you're traveling solo, there actually is nothing to be afraid of. Now in saying that, there are some cons when it comes to traveling alone. The first thing is there's no shared payments. So you're not sharing payments with anyone. You're not splitting halves or thirds or quarters when it comes to dinner. You're not splitting half on the accommodation. Basically, when you're traveling solo, all expenses are solely yours. When I went to Japan, it was more expensive, but then again, it all comes down to your management, your financial management, and how you're capable of segregating your money for different things. And it's something that I managed to do quite well. So The only thing is, if you're not conscious about these things, your money could go like that, and that could make your travel experience a bit more stressful. Another con to traveling solo is the potential to actually feel lonely on trips. And it doesn't matter, even if you are kind of engaging with people, most of the time you're going to go back to your hotel or hostel or whatever and kind of be on your own and do your own thing. And as great as this freedom is for a while, depending on your trip length and all of these things, when it comes to the crunch, even if you are around people throughout your day, when you go back to bed, you do feel that sense of loneliness when you are traveling alone. A lot of people that do these solo adventures are doing these solo trips for a reason. There's an objective. Even if that objective isn't clear, even if it's all about finding yourself or whatever that is, most people that are traveling solo will have a goal, and that is why they are traveling solo. So it's not like these people are destined to be alone, but the thing is, you will feel alone at times when you're on your trip. And it is something that you want to share with people sometimes. And that is why one of my greatest experiences was traveling overseas with an ex-girlfriend. That had to be one of my greatest travel experiences because it made me feel like I was in some romantic film. It felt dreamy. And that was what I experienced when I traveled with a partner of mine. And when you're together sharing these experiences, just the two of you is a very intimate feeling, and it just makes that experience so much more than what it already is. Big picture, traveling solo and traveling with a partner is like comparing apples and oranges. I think it's a completely different experience. That's a great thing about traveling with a partner of yours, is that it could actually improve your relationship. And I feel during that time it actually did improve me and my ex's relationship, and it is a memory that sticks. I feel like when you're traveling alone, you don't really make memories, photographic memories. You kind of, when you travel alone, you're making an imprint on yourself, and you're trying to build yourself up in many different ways. And I feel like traveling alone absolutely ticks that box. Is that it gives you that inner peace, and that's something that a lot of people need. I think everyone actually needs it, which is why I recommend everyone do at least one solo trip. Is it kind of gives you that inner peace, and but the thing is, a lot of these trips where I traveled solo, even though I remember fragments of them, I don't feel like I've remembered it in my mind. I feel like these holidays where I've traveled solo, I've remembered more in how I feel about the trip, in how I felt. Now, when it comes to actual memory, photographic memory about trips, this is where traveling with family comes in. And I've done a lot of travel with my family, and these photographic memories are actually still in my head, even though I've had these holidays since I was a young kid. I feel like traveling with family is a beautiful way to build memories that don't fade away. And these memories remain in your mind and in your heart. Whereas I feel like traveling solo, you're making a lot more memories in your heart and not so much in your mind. But when it comes to traveling with family, I have so many amazing, memories and imagery that's constantly revived in my mind. And it's a good way to make you smile. It's a good way to make you happy. I feel like traveling with family is a very healthy way of traveling. Would I recommend traveling solo? Well, look, I recently went to Japan in May this year, and I traveled on my own. And I feel like I did a much better job than when I traveled in Hong Kong. And I got to meet people, I got to experience a lot of things. I got to become a lot more creative and imaginative. And not only that, another thing about traveling solo is I feel like it enables you to become a better traveler. When you're traveling on your own, you're not going to turn around and ask your friend where the nearest taxi is. When you're traveling alone, you're not going to tell, your partner, How do you say this in Japanese? The fact is, when you're traveling alone, you're on your own, and you have to kind of go through all these obstacles on your own. And it's a very amazing experience when you're going through this trip. And once the trip is done, you think about it, you're like, wow, how did I come into this country with very little knowledge about it, with very little language, and manage to pull through this kick-ass holiday? Solo travel is encouraging an individuality about you. It's basically telling you, hey, you know, you're going to have to problem solve this entire trip on your own. And once you do that, it's a very rewarding experience. It's kind of like there's a mission, and when you complete the mission, you feel like, yeah, I did that. I did all of these things. I did all these things on my own. You know, when I was in Japan, I was only there for 10 days, but I quickly picked up a lot of words and phrases, and I just felt like, wow, I could actually kind of engage with Japanese people while I'm here. You know, I kind of figured out, even though a lot of signage wasn't in Japanese, I kind of figured out my way through landmarks and how to get to places. I rocked that public transport system, which is one of the most complex public transport systems in the world. I did all of these things on my own. It's not like I had my friend to rely on or my family to rely on. That's the thing. You can't rely on much when you're traveling solo, and that's what makes you a better traveler. So the bottom line is, guys, look, if you are nervous about traveling solo, don't be. It can be a very invigorating experience, and it could be an experience that helps you grow from inside and enrich you. It offers you perspective. It just makes you a much more driven person, and it opens your mind and eyes. And I think traveling solo is a great idea. And the thing is, there are a few drawbacks to traveling alone. You know, sometimes you might feel a bit lonely, it might become a bit expensive, and you don't really have anyone to rely on or depend on. But a lot of these drawbacks can become your strength as long as you're on top of your travel game. I could easily say that traveling solo is something that I recommend everyone to do at least one time, and if not more. But in saying that, it's still not my favorite mode of travel. It definitely isn't my favorite. My favorite mode of travel I've experienced was with a partner of mine. As much as I love my family and I have great times with them, just that level of intimacy, romance, dreamlike state is like a fantasy world when you're traveling with someone you love and everything just works out. Everything that's already beautiful is beautified by 100 times. So my personal favorite mode of transport is traveling with someone that I love, whether it's someone that, you know, whether it's a wife, which I don't have at the moment, or, you know, a past love of mine. It's an experience that you don't forget. It's kind of like engraved in stone and just placed in your mind. It's pretty amazing. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you are traveling solo and you have any more questions, I feel like I didn't cover too much about it, so feel free to drop a comment below and I'll definitely respond. But besides that, peace, love, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.